Welcome back. I want to do a family reading. See what might be in store for the near future. What we might need to work on. Yeah. I had to put on my glasses. You only get one set of eyes, they say. Might as well keep them. Can't always look our best. Let's see. All right. Let's get a couple signifiers. Whoa, 2 cards just flew out. On things we need to be paying attention to and keep in mind. So let's see what they are. We have pertinence. For everything, there's a season. Yes, but for the mind, it's all seasons, all times, all places, and all beings. So, if anything's pertinent, it's you. And that's why I'm here. Timeliness or suitability. Connection with present. Fit to the current moment. Happens to be Capricorn and Aquarius. Then we also have sagacity. The ability of being sages. The vigilant seldom have regret. Having keen judgment, foresight, consideration, caution, and discernment. Also an Aquarius, but this is Pisces in Aquarius. Interesting. And the deck's so big, I split into 2. So let's get 2 more from this half. Oh, the top one? Okay. And 1 more, please. Well. All right. So we got 4 more cards. Bringing us 6 altogether. The third card is parity. So that's the thing, right? That the brain itself has 2 sides. The body has 2 sides, but it all came from one, just like the power into your computer. But then there's zeros and ones, and combinations of those in 6s, in hexadecimal, and so on and so forth. And so parity has to do with keeping 2 in connection and working together, even though they're doing different tasks, making sure that the flow is appropriate and everything is checked. Let the punishment fit the crime. Fairness in treatment. Proportional reaction to a stimulus or a happening. That's very unbalanced way of putting it. Because that's single parity. Meaning, so you witness something, and then you have to contain the whole reaction. Oh my God. And that's out of balance, right? But then where's the magic go? If we're balanced, then nothing can sneak up on us. Nothing can surprise us. And I believe that has to do with casting to the future and picking up the load from the past and transmuting it. So we were given these other 3 cards to go along with that. We have warmth. Interesting. So that card was Libra and Taurus. No, Libra and Sagittarius. And then we have a Pisces in Sagittarius. Warmth. One kind word can thaw a winter. Kindness or affection, friendly hospitality, extended to one another. That's Sagittarius and Pisces. We have Sagittarius and Aries, gratitude. So we had 2 Aquarius. That was Pisces and Capricorn. Then we have 3 Sagittarius, Pisces. Excuse me. The first 2 were Cancer and Capricorn with Aquarius. Now, with Sagittarius, we have Aries, Pisces, Libra. With the parity holding the balance of Libra out of focus. Gratitude for thanks for little, won't want for much. Being thankful, showing appreciation, and recognizing blessings. Now, our final card, our 6th card here, ironically, was on the warmth card. It mentioned hospitality, and the 6th card is hospitality. Isn't that's hotel work, isn't it? Taking care of all your guests, because you're feeding off of all the guests and customers. How interesting of a way to put it. Treat guests and wishes as children. Generous reception of visitors or strangers, inclusive geniality. And that's Pisces and Taurus. All right. And so there's an outline of a family. Sagacity, pertinence, parity, balanced with warmth, gratitude, and hospitality. Give us, oops, it's converting backwards. Reveal what our family issues are right now. Oh, shit. That's funny because that was on the bottom of the deck and it came back out. So the issue the family is dealing with right now is the Queen of Swords. And I can liken that to, in this reading, the balance of containing, like for instance, let's say a scenario. Having the right to attack someone, or, the justification, and turning that inward in order to heal one and all while holding that blade. It's challenging because as parents are the children. Ultimately, I mean, why else would they need to make little mini copies of themselves to have more control? Making all parents more or less in this Page of Swords energy. It's the things like, for instance, that as adults, when we think back to when we're kids, they come up like, well, my dad or my mom did this. And pushing that on our kids. That's this Page of Swords kind of energy where, yeah, that was your experience. Yeah. It's one thing to let your kids know, but they don't have the discernment. And those kind of things will make them choose one of 2 parities that is out of alignment unless it's presented correctly. Where they'll be like, oh, well, my dad said, and then that's the way it is. Or they'll rebel. They'll run to or from the advice given. And thirdly, we have adulthood and parenting and experience and retirement and age and welfare. Each spot where we're taken care of isn't really a place to rest. And it is the place of rest. children teach us to slow down when we're telling them not to run the house, and we're the ones sitting on our ass not moving, when they'd be going a little bit slower or more in alignment. If we were more in alignment, and maybe we'd move a little bit faster. And so what is the value of experience as Pluto goes retrograde today? Just before it hits 251, of course. It was just shy. But staying in Aquarius, at least until, I don't know if it'll be in Aquarius the whole time, but it's going to be until October or November 5th, something like that. October 5th, November 5th, something like that. So the rest of this year, up until the holidays, is going to be like a death in reverse, where less is more, and we're working on cleaning up our act, and not in the way like, oh well, I can just finish these things and be done, because they'll come back. And so this is the deeper work, where we're working on the shit that we've compiled, that any adult or parent could stand upon, like all the little trinkets we got. And what good are they? Unless we can use them somehow to teach something to the future, then it's just pride. What's a collection for if it's just about filling an empty space? To hold that space for your divine masculine or divine feminine, for your higher self, when ultimately we have to become like children and maintain that experience while looking at ourselves in the process. All right. Give us where this rebirth energy might also want to speak up and tell us something about our guidance. We've been getting this a lot. The 2 and 3 of Wands. I just had the 3 of Wands, and it's almost the same picture as the 2 of Wands. Only there was 2 stabs, and he's not holding the world, I don't think, in the other one. Very much in seeing that all that we've gathered through our age and experience, and whether it's been injured in war, our medals, how many kids we got, the house, the car paid off, whatever secured. As soon as all that's secured, then okay, well, now we're at a dead end. Everything's good and stable, and we're just holding a pentacle, like one giant gold coin. But we're the thing that's valuable, trying to run away. Like, oh, good, I'm good now. I mean, that's not to say that, we should enjoy our life all the time. But be like, oh, well, now I can run away. Where is there to run? There is nowhere to run. On the bottom of the deck, I just saw the Lovers. Whoa. I see that this period is going to be where we have to gather up our own arms. Instead of our gold, it'll be more like gathering up our weapons, the things that we're using to protect ourselves. Or it's about collecting the negative things and turning them into positive. Instead of everyone walking away because we're holding on to our pride, it's going to be standing on that spot and moving slowly, but everything around us will be moving quickly. while each learns how to embrace this King of Wands energy. How to be the calm in the middle of the storm. Two things that we're supposed to keep in mind here. I see is this reversal of fortune, of spirit in the church and religion and things like that, where we go and we give ourselves to it, but then when we leave, then we're off doing whatever. Or when we're at work, then we're commanding our armies to go take care of this and that, and we're like on the altar, on the stage, proclaiming everyone. But then who gives anyone the right to command and mobilize armies? And we can't give it. So it's this balancing act of not controlling others for our own benefit, and not just giving ourselves away for the comfort of, well, you know, I gave $100 to the church. I mean, shit, that's a lot. So I should be good if I'm good the rest of the week. Now, we got to work on the hard stuff. The hard stuff is knowing that you have $100 million in the bank and you went into the church and you didn't drop a penny. And everybody will look at you like, what, you're too good? And be spending one's time and energy elsewhere, because the money comes and goes, and it's easy once you have it just to throw it down and be the big shot. But what good is it? Unless it's transformative. So we almost have to throw our money into the fire and be transformed. Like the Knight of Swords. Like the one having it all, or the beggars. But standing as that wall in comfort for all others. Because each has to grasp this individually. And that's one of the greatest blessings and curses of marriage, since almost all people will be married at least one time before they could possibly awaken. Because you have to know what it's like being wrapped up in something due to innocence and it feeling right. And both of you agreed in the moment. And maybe it was 100% true. And then later on, you have feelings that they change. Like, oh, what does that mean? I didn't know he did this. Oh, well, I don't know if I could trust her when we've been together like 3 years, and now I'm like out of town like 6 days a week. Can I trust her being at home alone for 6 days a week when I'm sending all the money home? And then we really have to deal with ourselves. That's the hard work. But usually that process happens 2 or 3 times in a lifetime. And who knows about an awakening? The awakening is happening over the course of an entire lifetime. And for me, personally, I had to be married in 3 completely invested relationships where there was kids involved and things, and sometimes on paper. And regardless of how many they had on their side, which that's weird, it's a marriage, right? It should be equal. So there isn't any sides, and both sides would support the marriage. But instead, there was nobody there to support the marriage. It was only supported as long as I held it. And everyone was flaking off and getting the good out of it, and then deciding to change all at once. And it might sound egoic to say, but looking back, that's exactly right. At the same time as I can easily see how I could have done better. But I was never unfaithful in any of my marriages. And there was nothing that was that we couldn't speak about and work through if there was communication. If there's no communication and all the parties that signed up for it, that signed the marriage license, whatever, weren't given 100% and we're trying to take off the relationship, then therein lies the problem. And so that's why the divine union has to happen within each individual. Because a marriage in the flesh is just, well, you even had to go get a third party and get the law and get witnesses and all this stuff. That sounds like an inverted crime scene. And it is. It's made to be that way. So everyone's held accountable because, damn, we all have to get there individually and have a partner too. Give us a couple more here. And the weirdest parts, so, is this balancing act within relationships of this Eight of Cups and the Knight of Wands, where I see the Knight of Wands as that passion phase, or the moments that it's just great. And then the Eight of Cups being the parts where you're tired of each other, you're limited by each other. You want the best part, but then you want to be like, okay, can you get out of my house for a week? Like, that's weird, right? But that's the reality of marriage. And then how you learn how to work around each other, like you're not there, or you got to check in with each other, like, and both ways are a little bit too much, but required to have the space and to have the communication. But then there can't be the gap of like, yeah, we're in the passion of it. Everything's growing. We got it. This is going somewhere too. Wake up the next morning. Oh shit. I didn't make her breakfast. She would piss at me. Like, I gotta go to work, but I want to stay behind. But if, this balance of disillusionment. Before we go, because the family structure ultimately is balanced within as one, but each of us is two on one, at a fourfold heart. It's a lot to take in. Because children and animals, though they're the most innocent, at the same time, they're completely flawed. And adulthood is like that. And almost more wild and more foolish and more know-it-all and more innocent. So that's a huge gap to embrace and to get over, to get back to absolutely wild, absolutely connected, absolutely innocent and in the moment, at the same time as absolutely somehow protected enough and focused enough that nothing could go wrong while you're totally zoned in. It's a precarious place, but we're given abundance here. That we have the time and the space. And for each of us, it might just be as simple as spending an hour doing this a day. But we have to be there individually for ourselves and for others and have a journey on record. Ultimately, because hate it or love it, one day now forward, the only memory that'll be of any of us will be in a database. That's scary. But before, there was no database at all. Unless somebody wrote it down. But we don't have the real person's face. We can't talk to the people that talk to them. We don't see their communications. Now that's just recorded. And so that's powerful and it's terrifying. It's time for everyone, each and every, to shine. The ugliest parts of ourselves are really actually the best parts to reveal, because that's something that everyone can relate to. And if not, then that person is hysterically privileged. And I guess that's kind of an inverted hell, to have so much privilege to not know suffering, or know so much suffering to not realize what a privilege is. Speaking of trauma, each trauma has to be dealt with by the self and working on the details with oneself and connected to others. There's no real isolation unit, because the truth of the matter is the whole world is based upon and tied into spell work. Everything uses words, symbols, and cults, groups with different things. But each person is royalty, naturally, and has all of those gifts and weaknesses and communities within them, oneself. And so this is a time period, I believe, where a lot will be fading as far as the boundaries, because it's the boundaries that are in the way. That if a role allows you to show up in one spot each day and you do your thing there, and then you're free to do whatever you want otherwise, well, then why couldn't everyone already have that role and be doing it already? Each of us is a leader, without a doubt. That's why the weirdest thing about being how wise anyone can become. Go for a walk in nature, and pretty soon things will pop out at you. The ground will be speaking. That the animals will come up and tell you things. And it'll be tied to the words in your own head that link it all together for the transmutation to occur. Because every single person is a black sheep, as well as royal. If any of us belonged here on Earth, prove it. Because human beings are the one thing that does not seem to belong on Earth. And so what is consciousness if we're not all tied together? And we're willing to sacrifice the life of another for our own or for a cause, then that's a huge issue. That should not happen. Because everyone deserves to be a success. However they want to write their story. Each of us, and we can bring up this truth of how, each of us was suppressed, or the things we had to go up against, but ultimately we're the success to our own story, and have to write that story and rewrite it for the betterment of all, and not just for an individual success. Though that may seem challenging, I invite everyone to think about that until we see each other again. Thanks.